funny. I am ready for what we have to offer today.
To that, yes, yes. So
Oh, and let me put Tommy up because he's been
yes,
missing the past few episodes. I've got to get my thumbtack. Clearly, thumbtack is using the happy birthday sign from
right.
you know about 3 episodes ago. But judge your mama, don't judge me.
I'll judge a Bible
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
before all the cracks.
Yep, there we go. So Tommy just wanted to make an appearance. I'm going to put him back to the side, but
Hey,
he'll
Summer.
be back next episode. All right, there we go. Now that we've got that out of the way, it's bothering me. He's been missing.
Yes. If just in case you were wondering.
In case you were wondering. Sure they were. Of course they were.
Yes.
He's important.
All right. So we are starting off this episode to talk about what everyone's talking about, and that is how awesome the NBA All-Star Weekend was. It was a great success across the board. It had everything you would want. You had your highs and your lows. You had your dramas and your controversies. You had like playoff game experience, like seemed like a atmosphere out there in the game, and so it was awesome. I'm looking forward to the day when I go to my first All-Star game. Somebody out there make it happen. But yeah, it was out from front to back, top to bottom. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole weekend.
I did too. It just had such a buzz of energy around it. And I attribute that to a couple of things just from an outsider looking in, right, watching it as I usually do. I attribute it to some of the format changes that they had with different things and just the level of competition. It seemed like not just in the new format of the All-Star game itself, but it seemed like everyone was really competing and wanted to work hard to win. I remember watching the 3-point contest, and at the beginning, people were moving a little slow, but it got towards the end, and you could tell Devin Booker was there for a purpose, right? Yeah. He felt slighted in general, so you could tell that when he stepped out there, the point of why he was out there was because he wanted to win, and he wanted to prove to everyone that he could have been selected anyway. And then other people then rose to the level of what he was bringing in that particular one. So I think that was one thing, that it was a lot more competitive across the board. I think the change in the format to the game itself on Sunday helped to make it more competitive. And then two,
ELAM.
And then two, I think really trying to honor Kobe and do everything the right way by him, perform the way that everyone really knew that he would have wanted them to perform, right? Again, everyone was talking about it, and we always say Mamba mentality, and just really doing what needed to be done to honor him, honor his legacy, and to go out there, put on a good show for the fans, but to put forth your effort and show how important all these different levels of the competition meant to the players. So those are the two things I think that really motivated and drove how exciting it was to watch, and to use your words, how successful of an entire weekend I think it was.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yes, I think all of the skills elements were like on point. Like all of them had some type of excitement to them, even from like the skills challenge with Bam winning, and no one expected a big to
North
win.
Carolina. Shout out to Bam.
Yes, but he's a Kentucky guy.
That's true. Well, I ain't got no beef with Kentucky. So.
I would root for Jason. I root for all if you're a Dookie, I root for a Dookie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then, like you said, the 3-point contest that was very fun. Watching Buddy Hield, like he had to win on the last shot to win, so that was exciting. It's always good when it comes down to like something that's intense. But then just to look and see that even to get to the second round, the final round of the contest, you had to make a 26. That's the volume those guys are out there shooting, a 26. Exactly. But I guess it also goes to like the 2 extra shots they added into it.
That Mountain Dew shot.
The Mountain Dew, so of course you can pad your score. So those turned out to be very important at the end to move on. So that was fun. I think it especially with like people like Trae Young, Steph, he revolutionized the game coming in and shooting from anywhere past mid-court. Didn't matter how far he was in, one step in. So I think it just shows how far the game has come and changed in that realm. When just imagine like 10 years ago, making a 3-point, just pulling up and making a 3-pointer was considered bad basketball. And now it's considered like your most effective shot if you're looking at the Houston Rockets. And then the slam dunk competition. Girl, let me tell you, me and my brothers have been arguing about this since that day. It's 2 against 1. So me and one of my brothers are arguing. It's my oldest brother. And so he's like, so I'm a firm believer that Aaron Gordon got robbed. Firm believer that he's like straight up arguing for like Jones Jr. saying that he won fair and square. First of all, won no fair and square. Second of all, he did the same dunk 4 times.
Thank you.
I was saying that while I was watching. I'm like, he's doing the same thing from different angles. Exactly. Come on. Oh, so that was frustrating. That and I'm looking at you, D-Wade. Did you see where they said that it was supposed to go into a tie and then
they did the
somebody
or whatever, or somebody changed and went against
put the wrong So right. It was an extra 9 in this.
Right.
But
I agree with you. Not only did he do the same thing 4 times, the other thing is I felt the way that Aaron Gordon felt. So he voiced his opinion on the court and someone else repeated it. The announcer did, saying he had straight 50s before they even went to these dunk-offs. In my opinion, if that's the case, why should you even be dunking off with somebody?
Right.
Every single round, save for the very last one, which was highway robbery.
Right. And that was the dunk-off. And it wasn't in the regulation round. So
Right. So if that's what we're doing, I mean, I think you have to take it in the grand scheme of everything that was done, and everything that he did was different. And I really like this year that not only were the dunks, for the most part, creative, and they had nods to certain things, but I like that they kind of took it back old school, and they didn't have all these gimmicks, right?
Yes.
So they may have changed clothes or whatever, but they weren't out there on hoverboards. They didn't have Kias in the middle of the court to jump over.
No Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah, exactly. It was just, now I might pull somebody from the crowd, whatever, but it was strictly just, I've got a basketball, I've got the hoop, I might ask somebody to toss something up for me, but other than that, and I might change my clothes a little bit, but other than that, I'm dunking because I can come up with stuff and I can be creative. So I thought for that reason, it for sure is one of the best ones I've seen in recent memory, because it just was the guys and the hoop. And I'm not bringing a bunch of fancy stuff. I'm going to jump over people.
Right.
Taco Fall is huge.
He's huge. Yes. I don't care if his head was dunked a little. That's 1 foot. That's a head. It's what I mean.
Exactly. He's 7'5". So if you hit the top of his head, you still are jumping over 7'3", maybe 7'2".
Exactly. Thank you.
Even though he may have hit his head a little bit, and then there was is it truly his head? I mean, he had his hands up there because after he took the ball.
Yeah, it was his hands. He was like, "Oh, my hands are stuck."
Exactly. So it's kind of a combination. So I think maybe you take a couple inches, but I know I can't jump at all. And the fact that even though it's impressive to me for anybody who can jump, but the fact that as big as he is, he's able to get that big body off the floor, get his legs up high enough.
Right.
Because the thing I've always said is usually it's more impressive when shorter people dunk, because you have more range to cover. And a lot of times if you're too tall and you don't have the explosiveness or like Dwight Howard, it doesn't look as good as if you get somebody who you think, okay, whatever. And there's somebody who comes out and who's 6'4", and of course anything below that, 6 feet tall, 6'1", like, whoa, so, but the fact that at his height, he's able to do what he can do. I agree with you. I thought that he should have won hands down.
Right. So I think my solution is that if at the end of the second round and you have a tie, let's do a cumulative score from the first and second rounds, and that person wins. How about that?
Right, because you shouldn't be doing dunk offs unless there's truly a tie, and you can't truly have a tie if you have multiple rounds. So you add the scores from multiple rounds. Yes, you move forward, but your total overall score is,
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Gordon's case, 100,
Mm-hmm.
and Jones Jr., I don't know, probably like 94,
Yeah.
95. I don't remember what
He
his
had like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
one.
Yeah, I
On
can't,
one
yeah.
of the rounds, he got a 50. The other one, maybe it was a 46 or 47. I can't
Yeah.
remember. But whatever it is, he's got a 90 something in the high 90s. But clearly,
Mm-hmm.
that establishes who the winner is. So I agree with you. Part of it is they want to give the fans a good show, and I can appreciate that. But at the same time, after everybody thought that it was another tie, or excuse me, no, everybody thought that Aaron Gordon had won because
Right.
the
Yes.
other score got a 47. So everyone's like, oh, that's it. He got another
Right.
50.
Yeah.
Everybody. I
Yeah.
was so surprised.
Yeah.
And you heard the crowd, right?
Right.
So
You see the look on people's faces, like Giannis' face. It
yeah,
said,
like
wow.
it
Yeah.
really did. It
You
really
just
did.
see
So when
Taco. Taco was like,
it kind of always looks like that though.
that's true.
But
That's
no,
true.
I'm messing. But you're right. No, he was like, what? I mean, there are a lot of people who were very much surprised
Yeah.
by that. Heard the fans. So in
Yeah.
an effort, we were
And
trying to help.
then Ja Morant had put out there, he said, y'all making decision easier for me, like right after that score. Like first he said, he said, man, y'all tripping, like in terms of Aaron Gordon's score. And then after that, he was like, man, y'all making it easier for me, as if saying, y'all making it easier for me not to come out
Not
here and perform
exactly.
if I don't feel like the judges are legit, you know?
Exactly. I
So
agree.
it,
And
I mean, you're discouraging like your future dunkers from the people you want to see if they don't feel like if it's like fair or if it like it's not worth their time or
yeah, at
yeah,
the
like,
end of the
well, I'm
day,
there.
it's yes, it's for the fans and yes, it's for fun, but they're not doing it because they want to lose. Like nobody wants to lose, even when
Right.
it's all in fun. They want to go out there and they want to perform, put on a good show with the talented things that they can do. But at the same time, I want to win and I want to take this trophy home and put it on my shelf or give it to my mama, as most of them always do.
Right. That's
To
everybody said it's
put on
going to my mama.
put it on her stuff at her house or whatever. So no one's going out there and saying, "Oh, it's just for the fans." So I'll just
Mm-hmm.
do a little bit. No, they get into it, and you could tell based on the different things that they did that there was creativity and thought that went into it. And the sad part is that you now have discouraged someone who I think has been a very
Right.
great,
Yes.
fierce competitor,
Yeah.
talented, still blowing us away
Yeah.
after being in it before a couple times, and now you've discouraged him from wanting to do it anymore because he just feels like for the second
Right.
time he's been slighted.
Right.
And
It's just like that little girl who got her perfect attendance pencil stolen.
oh yes,
Just
Lexi.
because, look, you might say, "Oh, it's no big deal. It's just a slam dunk trophy." That means that perfect attendance pencil means something to her, and that slam dunk trophy means something to Aaron
Exactly.
Gordon. Because that's
Exactly.
like you, if you feel like you're putting the work in it, and you feel like you should have won, not only you and but other people are
Yep.
validating your experience of your out or what you felt should have been the outcome. Yeah, yes. How about
Yep.
Ellen? Can we get Aaron Gordon on the show and you give him a
Yeah, a trophy for
yeah,
the dunk contest winner. Exactly. That girl was so funny too when she
yeah,
called out that Lexi. And I
yes.
looked at
She went to Canada.
yeah, she didn't get. And then she was like, some other kid said, she can't have that. That's not yours. You weren't here. You were
We're
in
in
Canada.
Canada. And she said, well, yeah,
So
no,
good.
yeah, it's so
So
funny.
cute.
It's so cute.
It was, but funny. I'm with her. So that was the part that was unfortunate about it. But then as we continue to transition, I really liked the new format, and I
It was
thought
great.
it was, and you actually had people competing as opposed to we'll float around for 3/4 and then the last 2 minutes of the
Mm-hmm.
fourth quarter. Now let's put on a show and actually work to win this game.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of different factors contributing to that. Because each quarter meant something,
Hmm.
right? So each quarter was a game. You won something at the end of each quarter.
Right.
So I felt like after Team LeBron won their first game, Team Giannis was like, "Oh, we can't go out here and lose two in a row." And that's money for the charities. And then they had the kids there, like
right there.
a big section of kids. They were cheering. Like you could see these people. And I know the last couple of times, I don't know if they had like a big cheering session of the kids there. I just know they had representation, like, and because they would come at the end of the games, whatever, and get the checks. But this time they had like big contingents of like kids, like they were right there, and you could feel. You can feel them, like you can hear them from the TV about Team LeBron. They were like, this meant a lot to them. So I felt like that motivated the players too a lot. And also, of course, with Kobe, and I think it was a lot of guys trying to go out there and win that first Kobe Bryant MVP trophy. So I felt like a lot of people were trying to gun for that, so they just increased the competitiveness. And then I'm down with I found at first I had put out that the NBA needs to give whoever the intern is who thought of using ELAM for that last quarter a raise, but it was Chris Paul. It was his idea. So good for you, Chris Paul. That was genius. I know they use it in the basketball tournament. So that's where
he got it from.
Yeah, he got it from, and so it worked to perfection. Like I was one of those people. I was very side-eyeing this initially because I'm like, they trying to do too much.
I was skeptical.
Like they
trying to talk about it, right? And we were like, "What is this nonsense?"
Yeah,
and it seemed so arbitrary. And
it's like they were trying to shoehorn so many things in there to make it work, and
yeah,
I mean, I was down for the shot clock that started at 24 for Kobe in the fourth quarter, and then at 8 it changed to a different, color and format. So I thought that was cool. And it was just like I was nervous at the end of the game.
Yeah,
I was like, what's gonna happen? Like, who's gonna win?
Crazy for it to be an all-star game. So,
right.
Kudos to everyone who had a hand in that and who helped to execute it. I thought it was very well done, and I'm actually looking forward to the next one, and I hope they
hope it stays the same. Yeah,
what they've done, and I'm looking forward to the next one next year because they did a really good job, and I thought overall they did a great job in honoring Kobe. All the different things, different facets of the All-Star weekend. I thought that Commons raps, word. I mean,
that was awesome. That was beyond. I mean, can he do every intro for the rest of the?
And then that too, like, come on, rhyming everybody's names and
that right? Yeah,
come through.
So, it was. Yeah, I loved it. I loved him. Yeah,
from like you said, from beginning to end, I thought that everything was very well thought out, very well put together, very intentional. And kudos to everybody.
Yeah, and kudos to Jennifer Hudson for giving me my feelings once again. It doesn't take much when it comes to this subject, and but
I have been doing well, and I guess just the whole out of sight, out of mind, just busy, right? Just going to work and doing the things, only focusing on the things that I have going on. Not necessarily being a selfish person, but you know how it is when life stuff happens, and other people are still dealing with the grief. Because it's so close to them,
right?
You start to move on a little bit, and so that's the first time that I gotten upset and cried about it since, probably a couple of weeks ago, just because I'd just been involved with the things I had going on personally. So, it was.
Yes.
But anyway,
okay. Don't want to get down that go down there, but we just know that it was beautiful, Jennifer Hudson. Thank you. So other major news in NBA, the guys don't play again until Thursday, so they have a break. They deserve it this year. They gave us what we wanted. They gave the fans what they wanted this weekend. So let them have their time. But the Cavs. And their newly required coach, who's only coached for 54 games.
That's right. Baylon is out.
It's
tough because it's just crazy. I know both of us are just like, what do you say? What do you say? The crazy part about it is, like you said, he's 54 games into the season. They had only won 14 of those 54 is where they sit at the moment. and he had a 5-year contract. And
Right. Yeah.
after 4 games, the first All-Star break of his young NBA career as a head coach,
Mm-hmm.
he's already out of there. And
Yeah.
who knows what he will do next. I mean, he obviously left
That would take some
Michigan.
time.
Yeah. They'll him and they'll be fine or not fine. It doesn't really matter because,
Yeah.
they'll figure it out. But it's just interesting because I wonder what he personally will do with it being in the middle of the season. It's the middle of college basketball seasons as well. So you're kind of just, now I know you get your severance package and all that kind of stuff. So financially, obviously he's fine, even if he
Yeah, he
wasn't
was
getting
fine
that.
before. Yeah.
He's fine.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see where he sets his next because he came from Michigan.
Right.
They have Juwan now, and they've been doing pretty decent.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
First year without having any head coaching experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does once their end of both comes, and if he's going to end up either just on someone's bench at the college or NBA level, or if he's going to try and get a head coaching job at the collegiate level. I don't know that. Who knows what will happen at the NBA, but it seems like your resume is not really working in your favor. But crazier things have happened than
Yeah.
that. So
Right.
yeah, I'll just be interested to see what he decides to do.
Yeah, and when that hire came, when it was first announced, it did make sense to me. Like
Yeah.
I did not see, like, first of all, Baylon is like he wasn't a sexy hire. Out of all the people in college basketball that you could have hired, he would not been like on the top of like people that I thought would have made that transition. And yeah.
Well, yeah, and just overall, like when you think about the top basketball programs at the collegiate level that you then want to say, ooh, if we could get this guy, this would be great. How would he translate what he's doing? Michigan isn't one of them.
Right,
Now, they
exactly.
have some years, or they have some players where they're obviously better than others, and there's a little bit of a buzz around them. And they have some players that have come out of Michigan that are doing really well in the NBA. But that's not one of those programs like you think about a John Calipari or a Coach K, obviously. I mean, they've tried to get him several times, and they stopped barking up that tree because they know he's not going anywhere. But just stuff like that, where maybe we can take somebody who is molding young talent to NBA talent and put them with NBA talent and see where that would go. And that wasn't Baylon. So I agree with you. It was a weird hire to me too.
And I would have been, I feel like it's not like when Brad Stevens made the jump.
Right.
I mean, he was young, upcoming, this upstart, and he was doing creative things in his plays and his playmaking and doing more with less talent. I mean, I haven't seen, there wasn't like much creativeness going on in Michigan that would have said, oh, this guy is the guy for the new NBA.
Well, exactly.
This guy's going to take Colin Sexton and make him a perennial all-star. Nothing in his background said that, like, okay, of course he's a great coach. Like he has the pedigree. We have his resume that shows that, but that's on the college level. And you just have to look at, I mean, he hasn't really won anything that major in college either, so that didn't make any sense to me. But that's neither here nor there. The Cavs did this little experiment, and it failed epically.
It's neither here nor there, and he's no longer there. So, in any event,
good luck to them. I guess it doesn't really matter if he stays postseason or not, because he wasn't going to be there next year. So
exactly. So I guess we'll just have to see what comes of that on both ends.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to college b-ball.
Yes.
So we are in February. We are 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks away from the month of March. Can you believe it?
Getting nervous.
It's getting down to the wire. Okay. So in the latest polls that came out, we have 3 mid-major teams who have made it to the top 5. Once again, we've said this whole season, and it's been said across the board, across all kinds of avenues, from big guys, ESPN, Bleach Report, whoever, about the parity in college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows that, and I guess having 3 mid-majors in the top 5 shows that. But just looking at how these teams made the jump to the top 5, color me not impressed. I mean, of course, when you look at one of them, it's Gonzaga, and and I think just because of the state of their program is why they have more consideration than not to be in the top.
Mm-hmm.
So they've proven themselves over the course. They've made it to several title games in the last couple of years. So they're more like a big fish in a small pond. But then we have San Diego State and Dayton. Now, so Dayton, I will say they did play Kansas and they played them pretty close, but they still lost. And the other team that they played from a Power 5 was Virginia Tech. And looking at San Diego State, they haven't played anybody.
So, man, it's so tough because my thought about this is when you don't have anyone to play, there's really no ability to even have anything to be fearful of losing, right? So they're in the top 5 now. The rest of their conference, most people can't even name the teams that are in their conferences.
So your conference.
Or the conference they're in. Right, exactly. What conference are some of these in? And a lot of people wouldn't be able to name that. So to your point, so it makes it difficult because really what I see it, or the way I kind of see it play out, is that because college basketball is so down in the major conferences, it's basically like what we're saying is we've dropped down to their level, essentially. And I say we because we're in one of the big conferences,
right?
The major conferences. But all the major conferences have dropped down because there are not very many quality teams.
That's not our fault, North Carolina.
It's not our fault. It's not our fault. So I feel like because of that, then it makes it difficult if you do have a stutter step, if you will. In years past, you could be in the ACC and play against Notre Dame, who plays hard, plays tough, or Virginia Tech, who may not be ranked, lose that game, and drop down in your rankings, but then have all these other quality teams to play to help you move back up.
Right.
And so that's what I think about. If I look at, just because, I mean, Duke is the team I know. I mean, if I look at them specifically, they're in a place where they really are probably going to be about where they're going to be until the end of the regular season, and then conference tournaments go out, unless, depending on who they have to play, if they play the other 1 or 2 quality teams in the conference and beat them, I mean, the likelihood of them moving up to a 1 line is slim to none, because these other conferences don't have anybody either.
Right.
And
they're going to win out.
They're going to win out, right? And they don't have, and I think, too, it's a little different because Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, you're getting everyone's best effort every night. Yep. San Diego State, Dayton, you're just getting the same effort, right? I mean, no one's saying, ooh, I'm really in for them, because other than maybe they're at the top of the conference, sure, in that regard. But it doesn't matter who Duke plays, whether it's a conference game, a non-conference game, and we've seen that. I mean, the early loss that they had to Stephen F. Austin. Yeah. I mean, we've seen that from the way Carolina played them the first half, right? Yeah. So, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to equate the Kansas and Kentuckys to where we are, but this is the reality that we are in because college basketball is down.
Right.
So,
and you know what? I mean, at the end of the day, we got to do what we got to do. I mean, and where we are in this position that we are in is because they put on themselves for Duke. So more than likely, we will be a 2 seed. And we know historically 2 seeds are not favorable to us, especially if we have to go through Greensboro, which is like our backyard. But yeah, we'll just have to, hopefully these guys will have some grit to them. And we will see how Dayton and San Diego State perform in the tournament. And,
I am stressed out already, and we've got a month and a half before this stuff really gets done.
And I keep thinking about that year when we had, was it 2017, 16, when we had Tatum and we had Harry Giles and we had Grayson and Luke, and then we ran the table in the ACC tournament and we beat like three.
Oh yeah. And then
three ranked teams, and we still made this. We only had the number 2 seed, and then we had all that talent, and we still just got the number 2 seed. And I think no matter what we do in the ACC tournament, we're gonna be at the number 2, and we just have to prepare for that. They have to prepare for that. I just hope these boys are ready. They are kind of uneven. I never know what to get from them. And we will get to that later. McKeon's going to tell us about her experience going to the game, to the Duke UNC game live, and all the emotions we went through because of these guys that we have no choice but to love.
And most of a lot of times we do, but you know, they really work us. They're testing our commitment.
They test, yes, they do, yes. But you know, you gotta love them through the ups and the downs. But this weekend we have a very big matchup coming between Kansas and Baylor. So we have the number 1 and the number 3. They're in. So this is going to determine. This game is going to determine who wins the Big 12. It's gonna not have that much of a bearing out on if they stay in the number 1 slot, because it does at this point. It's like a wash between if they win, who wins or lose. Right. The only person who might be
Kansas or Baylor. I'm sorry.
They're at Baylor, so So Kansas has. I think it's more on Kansas to win this game than Baylor. Baylor already showed that they could win on the away at the opponent's floor. Winning Kansas, like, that was big for them, big for their program. Period. And just looking at the teams, they're both. I mean, they're pretty even. Looking at their stats, looking at what they do, how they produce. So it should be a fun game. I'll be watching it.
Same. I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good one. And it's one of those that, provided things go the way people expect them to, which they never do in the NCAA tournament. But if they were to, there are 2 teams that people might say could end up being spit out of their respective brackets and being in the Final Four. So it's a matter, but you never know. Look, I already know how that rolls. You think, and then so if the world were perfect and the seeds actually won when they met each other, and you ended up with the actual 4 number 1s, as we know that it's actually rare that happens. So who knows? But I say that just to say it could be a matchup that we might end up seeing again, maybe 2 or 3 times. I mean, they have the tournament,
right, and their conference tournament.
And then the NCAA tournament is possible. So especially if it ends up being a really good game, a tight game, which I expect it to be, it can be an exciting game for the conference tournament. And if they end up being matched up at some point in the NCAA tournament, it could be an exciting game. But I haven't looked at the bracket. So if any of them have to go through Duke, of course, I'm not going to predict that they're going to make it. I don't know, because I haven't seen how everything falls out. I just want to be clear. I want to be clear.
Right. But I know typically what they try to do, like if they have 2 teams in the who are the number 1 slot and they're from the same conference, they try to put them on opposite sides of the bracket. And that's one reason why Duke and UNC have never met in the tournament. Like,
sort of, it was a championship game.
Right. So
so they in order for it to happen, Duke would have to play one of them in the semifinals. Yeah, because Duke is not in the bracket with either of them. I know that too. Right now, they're in the bracket with San Diego State. So I'm not because San Diego State is there. I'm laughing because it's just blowing my mind that this is where we are.
Right.
I mean, who would have thought? But anyway, so they'll be in the bracket with them. So if they play, they would either play Baylor in the semifinal or play Kansas in the semifinal. But again, I don't know. I haven't looked at it in a whole, at it in isolation.
Yeah, and it really doesn't matter at this point.
It doesn't matter, right? Because it's not real. It's all now until we get down to Selection Sunday.
Selection Sunday, man. So this is fun times. This is a good time of the year.
It was a
But
fun time. I need them to just get past round one, just please.
no, round two.
Oh, I know, but I mean, let's start baby steps. I will feel a little bit better if you can take care of the 215. I'll breathe slightly.
Yeah.
And then I'll still be like, okay, now let's get out of Greensboro. How about that?
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Kim. Yeah, this team, there be no, like, every game I'm going to be nervous. Every
Yeah,
game.
me too. Me too. And especially you see the way the Duke team last year played in the
Yeah,
tournament and with who
yeah,
we had, and
right.
that ended up being like hold your breath every single
Every
game.
right.
So
Yes.
translate the level of talent to
Yeah.
where we are here,
Yeah.
and then not just level of talent, but what we've seen throughout
Mm-hmm.
the season. And there
Mm-hmm.
hasn't been much consistency. Now they're figuring it out and finding ways to win. And I will say that this is probably the most consistent sequence, although it took a lot of help from other teams for us to be where we are. But
That's
as
a good
far as like,
segue, Kim.
yeah, good segue to talking about the heart attacks that I had.
Yeah.
I had a, now that I'm looking back at it, I can say that I had a great time at the moment, or during the times where we were losing horribly, down double digits. It
So
was
let the
difficult.
people know that you were.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I forgot. So I went to the Duke UNC game that they had back on, I think it was February 6th, something like
Mm-hmm.
that, first weekend in February. It was at UNC. I have been to UNC games before
Mm-hmm.
where I'm cheering for whomever UNC is playing, but
Yeah.
I have never been. For real. Last year I saw Carolina play Virginia at Carolina, and then I saw them play State at State, and I was the biggest State fan during that game, and I was the biggest Virginia fan during the first one. So I have never been to a Duke UNC game at UNC. I've been to a couple at Duke,
All right.
and
Yeah.
I mean it
I was
is
there with you.
oh yeah, absolutely. Um, it is just an entirely different beast when
Mm-hmm.
you are one of the few.
Mm-hmm.
And I had good seats, but I wasn't in the area like behind the Duke bench. They weren't that good. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where you're going to have those small crowd of
Yeah.
people that
Yeah.
can share your feelings and your
Yeah.
emotions. I was around a bunch of people who obviously were cheering for UNC. So every time we were scrubbing it up, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my goodness, like, what are you doing? I can't even really express myself because no one understands. Like, literally, I am the only one in this sea. And the bulk of the game, I was like this, very tense. I had my arms crossed, and I did a lot of deep breathing like that. I did a lot of closing my eyes and shaking my head.
Yeah. I did that at home too, so I can only imagine what you were doing.
I did a lot of like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, it just was so there was a significant amount of time that I was watching the game, but I was texting the vet because I at least knew there was somebody who shared my feelings because everyone
Yeah.
around me did not. And it was tough. And it got so bad at one point that I made a vow to myself internally that I would never go to another Duke UNC game at UNC because if Duke loses, it's tough. Because
Yeah.
the hatred that they had for us, I mean, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
So every time that we did something stupid, every time we turned the ball over, every time we just missed the shot, so not even something foolish, just the roar of the crowd, and you're just like, ooh,
Yeah.
like the fury, the rage. Yeah, exactly. I don't know how else to explain it. But
But God.
about 4 minutes left, but God, right? About 4 minutes left in the second half, some things started to happen.
Wendell
Now,
got fouled. Wendell fouled out.
Wendell, Vernon Carey fouled out.
Vernon Carey, sorry. Whitwell.
Vernon Carey fouled out. And then a few minutes later, Cassius Stanley fouled out. And I will say this. When Vernon Carey fouled out, I was like, well, there it goes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
He hadn't been scoring in the second half, but he was the most effective player
The
until
game.
then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, if we don't have him, nobody else is doing anything. And until that point, I personally thought that Trey Jones had taken some bad shots. I thought that he had rushed some shots. He had rushed with the decision making. I thought that he wasn't playing as composed as I know that he is capable of playing.
Right.
He played like a freshman to me.
Yeah.
And he's not a freshman.
He was playing like he was trying to live up to his brother's legacy. Like he was trying to prove something. Like he had something to prove.
He was trying too hard.
Yeah, he was trying too hard. Jesus.
Instead of letting it come to him and taking what the defense gave him, he was forcing a lot of things, and that's not him. He usually is very similar to his brother, where he's cool, calm, and collected under pressure, and you can at least trust him to make a good decision with the basketball, and that's not what he was doing. So when Vernon fouled out, I was like, well, Trey is our next best player and scorer. He hasn't been playing well, so my mom was like, well, there's nothing else that we can do here because that's it.
Yeah.
But then there had been a series of free throws that had already been missed. So there were things in the works. See, the Lord already had his hand in it, and he had his hand in the pot, and he was putting some things together. And I didn't know about it. I couldn't see it at the time. But then as we moved along, we get to the 4-minute mark, and Trey just goes into takeover beast mode. And he decides that he's not going to lose this game. The other players get on board with him and say, we're not going to lose this game. And every possible thing that we needed to happen just happened. And it was so similar to the 2012 Austin Rivers game where we are down by double digits. There's only a few minutes left, and it seems like the game is over. Then all sorts of weird stuff starts to happen.
Stuff, like tipping.
Yeah, it's like, what's happening here? I mean, the free throws, there was one point in particular. Playtech for UNC went over to the bench. He had 2 free throws, and we had a little momentum, and so it was a silly foul, and I was like, oh, come on. And so he goes over to the Carolina. I thought he did. He wipes his hands. He comes back, shoots the first one. It hits front iron. Shoots the second one. It barely grazes front iron. I mean, so he's nowhere near making either of these. I mean, they're both just kind of skimming the basket. So it's like, what's going on? You know what I mean? So all these things, they're missing free throws. We start to make some good shots. We hadn't really shot well from 3 all game.
And then
but then
O'Connell,
Joey Baker made 1. O'Connell made 2. And you could see he was still hype, and he was like being, popping off at the mouth, jawing a little bit. And I was like, okay, then I see your attitude, even though we're down, like realize where we are. But look, he knew something I didn't know too, I guess. I don't know. But just what blows my mind the most is the fact that with seconds left, I mean, less than like 10, 12
seconds,
still down by 5 points. Points. And they string together, with some help from missed free throws, but string together a series of plays and scores. And then probably the wildest thing for Trey one of my friends after the game texted me. He's a State fan. And he texted me and he said, do you think that's like a top 10 best Duke play of all time in the top 10? And at first I was like, maybe top 20. But then I thought about it. And I said, you know what? It actually might be, because for you to throw, because he didn't shoot it, he chucked it.
No, yeah.
You to throw a pass to yourself, essentially, hit off the right spot off the rim. He got his own rebound. Like it wasn't one of his other players. He got the rebound, and one of his players was in the area. He then dribbles it. It gets knocked away like twice. He gets it back and still has the wherewithal, does enough to clear some space and puts it up perfectly. And I'm like, just the odds of all those things.
I knew that Bob was going in. It just looked good. It came off perfectly. But then I just watched the video. It was like a film room video between Trey and our boy John Shire, 2010. And they were breaking down, the play. Trey was named ACC Player of the Week for, his play during UNC and when we played against Florida State.
Right.
So they were showing like how like a couple of weeks before that, they had talked about that. Did you see this video?
Yeah, I watched the video. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm subscribed to the.
Oh, girl, me too. I'm like super fan.
Right. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, they were talking about how like this is something they talked. It was very strategic, and how John was like, why no one ever moves to the side and try to hit off the side of the rim to like get the rebound, because otherwise you can't control the angle. And so
Right.
they showed where in the video, Trey was like, yeah, so I moved over a couple steps to the right, and then I feel like I was over too far, and then I moved back up. And then everything he was saying, they were showing like what he was doing at
Yeah,
the
it was
line.
crazy. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
So
Yeah.
it was definitely like they had practiced that thing. And it's like John Shire, genius that he is, he went to Duke. So, I mean, like, he was like, no one else in the whole history of basketball, at least that we know, has shown that this is like the best way to take advantage of this situation.
Right.
And
'Cause
so,
otherwise, you're trying
yeah,
to change the form of your shot, right? Do I take
yeah,
some off? Do I shoot it harder? But then you have to make sure it hits the rim.
right,
So I've never thought about it, but it is. It's genius. I mean, it makes
yeah,
a lot more sense.
yeah,
Move over. Then you can, even though he didn't, because I think he also said in that video that when they practiced it, some of them he actually shot, like with shooting form. And it
yeah,
still ricocheted, but it changed kind of how it did it.
yeah.
But if you throw it from the side and there's more force, now you get a longer rebound instead
It's
of
physics
in the jump. Yeah, it is
and it's
fit.
geometry. So,
Yep. And
if you hit, it's
the harder
basically,
you impact something, the further off it's going to ricochet.
yeah,
So if you put some more force behind it, and then based on the angle, it's going to come out further instead of clogging the lane. And now
yeah,
these precious moments, how many times have you seen people just jumping, tipping the ball, tipping the ball, tipping the ball, and then the
and
horn
nothing
goes off?
happens. Yeah,
There's any actual attempt
yeah.
to make a basket because no one ever gets control of the ball. So I will say this. After that happened, I just remember, like, I feel like I have gaps in my memory because it just
You were going in and out of. It was
yeah,
too much
yeah,
for
it
you,
just doesn't
Kim. It was a lot.
yeah, it was, and it just doesn't even seem like it happened. Like, it seems so surreal that I was in there when this happened, and I just instantly was just like this. Oh my God! Like, I was just looking around, and I mean, I didn't have any friends to celebrate with, right? Because everybody, you know, see, I was just like this, and I was like, oh my goodness, and I just
Imagine
couldn't
Cameron
believe it.
didn't get you. You couldn't have been a GIF.
I could have. And so the crazy part about it, though, here's the craziest thing. Before I went to the game that Friday, I had talked with one of the guys that I work with, and we talk about sports and stuff all the time. We talk about
Mm-hmm.
basketball a lot, college basketball. And I told him the area where I was sitting,
Mm-hmm.
and I described it to him based on this. And I think you and I have talked about this.
Okay.
Based on the Austin Rivers shot,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
there was this one guy
Yes.
who was behind the goal,
Yeah.
who, when that shot goes down, the only Duke player in that area, and he or fan, he lifts his hands up like this.
Yeah.
Everybody else is whatever they're doing. His
Yeah.
arms are in the air. And so that's how I described the area where I was sitting.
Uh-huh.
I was a little bit higher up than he was, but I was still in that lower level. But
Uh-huh.
it's almost like I was foreshadowing things that I didn't even realize, because that's exactly what happened both times.
Yeah.
It was instantly, I like jump up like this, and of course
Yeah.
I'm the only one in the
Right.
sea of
In the
nasty
right blue.
right. And so it was just, I mean, like nothing I have ever experienced. And then of course they go into overtime, and the exact same thing happens again, where, okay, it looks like we're gonna win, and then they come back, they go up by like 5 or 6.
Right. Again.
And it's like, okay, well,
Five. Again. We were up 5.
yeah. Well, and then I started to be like, why would you give me this hope? Don't do this to me. I had already in the first in regulation time had already said, you know what? I'm upset about it. I feel like they didn't compete, which is
Right.
worse than just when you
Yeah.
don't compete, I'm even more upset. And it's like, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to get my emotions and my attitude in check, so I'm not in a bad mood the rest of the night. Let me try and get myself together. And then they send it to overtime. So now I have hope. So don't do this and give me hope, and then you're gonna start scrubbing it up again, which is exactly what happened. But then things started to align, things fell in place, shots were missed, people were fouled, and they get the ball back. Trey does a similar thing, except it's off this time, and everybody is doing he must be shooting because time is about to run out, because he's really the only person that's concerned about the clock. I mean, his teammates are looking at it to tell him shoot.
Right. Right.
And so, and I think that's what he said. He heard somebody tell him to shoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he shoots it, and he really had more time.
Right.
But thankfully, he listened to whomever, and everybody else is doing this to see if it goes in, except, you know what? You already know what I'm thinking, because I give him so much crap.
We both give him so much crap
about his decision making and things that he does. but the homie came through
He came
for
through. Yeah.
and his life and the game depended on it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. And the best description, and I'm actually stealing this from somebody else, the best description of how to explain that environment both times, it's like if you're watching a game or a show or whatever on TV and someone just presses the mute button, the way the sound just escapes so quickly, that's what it was like. Because it was loud in that place. So the ability, and we're not generally that great of a free throw shooting team.
Yeah,
the ability for them to focus, not only focus, but actually knock them down when it counted, because they got a lot of points from the free throw line. And when our backs were against the wall, big free throws were made.
Yeah.
So their ability to do that in that environment, as loud as it was, as crazy as it was in there, and then to have that magnitude of sound just like you got sucked in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like, and I'm over there like, like just like,
I wish the cameras had found you, Gail, so bad.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand. I don't. It was crazy. It really was. I will say that the Carolina fan that was sitting beside me after the game, like, gave me a pat on the back and said, "Thank you for being such a good sport," because there was a guy who was a Duke fan. I don't know where his seat was exactly, and he wasn't. Look, I do not like Carolina. We all know that. But I also understand I'm playing in their house.
Right.
And I would get annoyed if I was in Cameron and some obnoxious UNC needs to be seen and is trying to make a scene and just jawing at the mouth. So I can have respect for the game and for the environment. And I know my place. I know where I am. I do not have friends here. Like so, but he was not being very respectful. His look, fine. I wish I was as bold as he was. On the inside, I was like, yeah.
Tell him.
You tell him. You tell him. I was like, he was just over there talking about, he's like, yeah, they thought they were going to walk all over this. We ain't going nowhere. He was on live. He was like, look at him. Look at him. I was like, come on, man. Like, just leave him alone. But on the inside, that's what I look, your face. On the inside, I was like, but I didn't do anything audibly. So the guy appreciated that I wasn't, all in his face and all that. And then on the way out, we were walking to the car, and there's another guy who's a Duke fan. He said, it's quiet over here in Chapel Hill. But for every Duke fan that does that, there's probably 5 Carolina fans that do it.
Yeah, they're the worst.
I received a text message from someone who I don't talk to very often or see very often. And it was when there was like 3 minutes left in the game, regulation. And they sent me a image. I wouldn't call it a gift because it wouldn't do anything, but just a picture really. Or screenshot of, they better get the caution tape out for Franklin Street tonight to control the students or whatever.
Right.
So I waited. I didn't respond. I was annoyed that they even sent it. So I rolled my eyes. I was like, let me put my phone back in my pocket. And then things started happening. And I got ready and I was like, nope, let me wait. Don't be the person until you know.
Till you know. Yeah.
And it went to overtime. And I was like, nope, because I needed to be a win. And so I waited. And then after they made that shot, I texted back and I was just like, for what? Like, what do they need the tape for?
You should have said the crying Jordan. That's Tanisha's favorite one, the crying Jordan.
Oh, yeah. She uses that one all the time. I saw that on all 5 of the.
Yeah. She uses that every year.
She be ready with it. She ready with it. But all in all, it's one of the best experiences in sports that I've had. I'm glad that for forever and forever, I can look back and say that I was there and personally witnessed all that. So when it becomes the highlight, the way that the Grant Hill pass to Christian Laettner becomes one of those highlights. Now, obviously, bigger stakes, but still, it'll be something that goes down in Duke history, just the way that they won that game. And I can be the old head in the room and tell people, I was at that game. So, anyway.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool, Kim.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad you were there for that. So, half of me was half ecstatic and the other was half mad that they put in that position in the first place. But that's neither here nor there. So that's yeah, like you said, it's going to go down in Duke UNC history. Good
Dub
thing
is a
we were
dub.
on the right side this time,
Yeah.
and not
We
UNC.
on the
But
other side, so we
yeah, they're right. Yeah. So, but yeah, who cares about UNC and whether they're losing?
I am
Uh,
one with you.
so if so, let's keep it moving. We have the big story, one of the other big stories for us, like it's really kind of sad that the only time that Major League Baseball is in the news so often is when it's like a scandal, and then the cheating scandal. So the fallout from the Astros.
Yeah, it's been tough, right? Because you had the initial part where it's confirmed that these things were happening, and then you see that general managers were terminated, and then you see the state of what are they going to do for these particular programs, and especially like the Red Sox. So trying to figure out what are we going to do in the interim, what are we going to do to put the pieces back together. But then I think the where the fallout is now is that not only are you starting to hear players comment, and part of that is because you have comments that have been made by the commissioner, you have been made by the I think the owner of the Astros, and really just comments that just like trying to skirt around and pretend like nothing was done, and we don't know, we can't tell, why aren't players being punished? Well, because we can't tell that there was any kind of benefit. And that's just like that's a load of just mess. Yeah, exactly. Because if you, the only reason you cheat is to get an advantage so that you can win. Like that is the basic definition of cheating.
Right.
Doing something that goes beyond the confines of the rules,
Yeah.
so that you gain an advantage and thus have a better chance of winning.
Yeah.
So if we are admitting and acknowledging that this happened, and we are acknowledging that GMs need to be fired because they were aware of it, how in the world can we not acknowledge that players benefited from this, that your season benefited from this, and that you ultimately went on to win a World Series? Now, maybe you didn't use it in the actual World Series games, but exactly, that look, first off. But secondly, you had to use it at some point to get there. So I completely understand the frustration and the outrage, the anger that they are not being held more responsible.
Yeah.
And even when questioned about why they aren't willing to strip them of the title, he was saying, "Oh, we're looking at precedent, and that's never happened before, and X, Y, and Z." Like, there's a first time for everything. And there's also, has there ever been a video sign stealing cheating scandal that's ever happened before? I mean, it is so egregious that this is allowed to happen, and that really there hasn't been much of a punishment, in my opinion, to the organization. You fired your GM, you'll find another one. That doesn't really hurt you that much.
It's
but
the talent.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I heard Aaron Judge came out today and basically said that he had taken away a comment about Jose Altuve when he won the MVP that year, just saying like it just feels wrong, all of these things, and some of the Dodgers players being very upset that they feel like the title was stolen from them.
I mean, I
tend to agree.
And then Mike Trout came out. He doesn't talk about anything. You never hear him talking to media, but he has something. It just goes to say like how much this means to players. Like this is a big deal that they did this. And like you said about the Senate president, I mean, had a prince of Zamunda ever married a commoner before King Joffrey Joffer said that Hakeem can marry Lisa? But no,
there we go.
because he was king. And he could do that because he's king. So if you are commissioner, you are the guardian, the steward of this game. It's up to you to help lead it to the next generation. That's part of your job, is to steward the game. And you have failed. I mean, freaking LeBron came out today talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, and then just like you said, like the punishment that they got was like pitiable. I mean, like, and it's all because, right, like none of the players, and then the report showed that this was a player-driven scandal. Like they started this from the ground up. It came from the players, and none of them are going to get any type of punishment. Like they're just gonna keep their title, keep their MVP, and go on their way. And the team was only fined like $5 million. Are you kidding me? Like the Astros brought in over 300 million last year.
In baseball, $5 million is chump change.
That's chump change. And their owner is like worth $2 billion. So he could bring it out of his penny wallet and
right. Oh, you need $5 million? Here you go.
Okay, yeah, right. Oh yeah, let me go in the bathroom and get this out the toilet.
I got it in my box under the sink. I completely agree with you. And then too, to protect the sanctity of the game. So the other thing that I saw that had happened, and I'm just going to talk about it generally because I can't remember exactly where, but they were talking about like a little league organization that took some of the Astros insignia or paraphernalia or whatever off of branding, if you will, off of, maybe it was, I can't remember if it was a uniform or if it was like at a field, a signs, but basically a little league team taking a stand to say that this is not what we want our young boys learning. And think about what they are willing to do as far as punishment to an individual. I mean, to this day, Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire cannot get into the Hall of Fame because of performance enhancing drugs, and because people are just saying these are people who we consider cheaters, and we don't think it's right for someone who cheated to get the things that they've achieved to put them in the Hall of Fame and to honor them. I don't understand how that is any different than what we're dealing with here. If you're going to call people out and try to take such a huge stance on performance enhancing drugs, and you saw what A-Rod went through and him like disclosing all of that, and across sports, like when you talk about steroids and stuff like that, it's a huge deal.
Yeah.
So why, this is another form of cheating, of enhancing your ability to perform. How is this any different? Especially when, at least I think this is even worse, because the stuff that was going on with Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, A-Rod, those were decisions they made. Now I'm not saying other people,
yes,
but it was one person who decided, I'm going to do this, and I know that it's going to give me an advantage, and this is what we're going to do. And it's a lot more difficult to try and trace back a single hit or a single grab in the outfield or whatever, or home run, to say that this impacted this particular game in this way, so we need to take that win from you. That's a lot more difficult than saying a team won the ultimate prize in baseball, started at the ground up, and it's a team-wide thing. This isn't one person, it's the entire team. So it just, I don't have words. It is so just surprising to me.
It's very egregious, and they don't seem to feel like they have done anything wrong. And it blows my mind how unapologetic they are. Like they gave their little fake apologies, but you can see that there's no sincerity behind that. So yeah, I don't know if
there's no reason to be sincere, because they know they're not actually going to do anything seriously impacts their ability to either play baseball
or make money.
To make money, to have the title that they have. I just think it's terrible. It's a terrible thing, like you said, for the sport, and it's terrible that all this attention and conversation is happening as a result of them not standing. If anything, this could be a moment where you bring some positive light and you take a stand and you actually say, this is unacceptable. We will not allow this to happen. And then, and here's the other thing, to even to other sports, like think about how outraged people were at Colin Kaepernick for not standing up for the national anthem.
Girl.
He didn't cheat. He didn't do anything to advance his ability, but because you thought he should do one thing and he didn't, I mean, everybody's getting involved. Now, I know those are different people. It's a different venue, and there's no crossover. But the fact that actual proven cheating, your face, that's exactly how I feel. Exactly. Actual proven cheating. And we're not going to hold them more accountable than a man who decided on his own, with no one else from his team telling him this is what he should do, to not stand for the national anthem. And some other people, and it trickled down, and some other players did the same thing anyway.
Right. He lost his livelihood for that, but these guys are going to keep going out here and claim themselves as champions, and it just stinks. And I don't know if they can come back and do something because of this outcry, if he's just going to stand his ground, but it's not a good look. It's not a good look at all.
Well, and it's one of those things too, though, at this point, it almost, like you have to wonder which way do you want it, because if it happens now, then it still seems disingenuous and you're only doing it because people are upset. And then you have the players who are now outraged because you said we were fine and blah blah blah, so it almost like makes it worse. So I don't even know what this, like you said, I have no idea what the solution is other than to do better, and shame on you. Shame on you.
Well, moving along, let's get away from that topic because it's
yeah, I got a little heated.
I know that's your, I know you love baseball, so I can.
Disrespectful. Anyway,
all right,
let's go to
the National Football League. So
to the NFL we go.
We are in the off season, but there have been a couple moves so far in NFL. Just today, we saw that Greg Olsen is going to the Seahawks. I mean, I know they need someone at tight end position, but I don't know how big of an impact this is really going to be. Just, like he isn't like the Greg Olsen of 5 years ago,
Yeah, no, he's not. I think it wasn't surprising that Carolina and Greg Olsen parted ways. I mean, I think what we had been, and it seems like they're hinting at, and we had discussed even, is it looks like they're trying to do clean house, clean slate. They got rid of the coach. You expect to see some pieces moving. People are thinking maybe Cam is gonna be shipped off, making statements that make it seem like he isn't, but whatever, that doesn't mean anything. But anyway, so Greg Olsen being sent to the Seahawks isn't surprising, but I agree with you. I mean, it's almost like trading and getting a Jason Witten, right? They meant, like they're older, they're at the latter stages of their career, they're big bodies, and it's not that they don't still have some talent and something to offer, but it's also not like throwing to a Travis Kelce. It's not like throwing to a Zach Ertz. I mean, it's not like throwing to a George Kittle. So you're not going to get that in putting him in that role. So we'll see how much he impacts.
I guess it's to help their running game. That's the only thing I can see that I can see where the impact we made, because he is a veteran. He's smart. He's a smart player. So he'll know, I think he'll be able to help in that situation the most. So I feel like that's probably the biggest thing he's going to contribute to them. But
it's kind of slow.
And it wasn't.
He still has pretty good hands, though. He still makes some good catches.
Right, yeah. So maybe they could put like some trick plays with them, like, you're not looking to see, but he can, make some plays when need to be. But yeah, the contract's not that much money. It's just 1 year, so they still have a lot of money to play with. Well, not too much, because Russell is milking them. But also, Drew Brees.
Any help? They can't pay nobody.
Drew Brees is not retiring. I would have been surprised if he said that he was. Like,
exactly. That would have been the breaking news. That would have been the breaking news. I'm not sure why ESPN reported that he said he was coming back. I think you need to report if he said, I think I'm hanging it up.
Right, yeah. Yeah, he said he wanted to play until he was 45 or something like that previously. So, like, where did this come from? And
it's not like he had a bad season.
Right. I mean? He didn't play his best in that playoff game, that's for sure.
But overall, I mean, he was very characteristic Drew Brees. I had no concerns. I mean, it wasn't going backwards. I mean, Tom Brady had a much worse season than Drew Brees did.
Yeah.
And we know he's not going anywhere. So
right, thanks to his Hulu commercial.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Hulu.
Thank you, Hulu.
And then the other thing, so not trade talk, but Myles Garrett's suspension has already been lifted. So he is back in action, and he has come out and he's still standing by his statement and his comments that the reason the explosion happened to begin with was because there were some racial slurs used by Mason Rudolph towards him in his direction, and that's what boiled him over and tipped him over the edge. So it's been interesting to see that unfold, because in response, Mason Rudolph said that he, with 1,000% certainty, did not use any racial slurs towards him. And you know what? I will say, sometimes I'm like a small bit skeptical when people go way over 100%. Like, because it's not possible. You know what I mean? Like, it's not possible. So
It's
just
like you're
say,
overcompensating for your,
yeah, for something, as if you think that I need to make sure the people who think it might have happened, if I go 1,000%. So sometimes when people say that, I'm like, you could have used that 100%. You use that 110% or 200%, but 1,000%. So, it's fine. But to that response, he has been defended mightily and strongly by Mike Tomlin. I mean, his coach is going to bat for him.
And this not even his starting quarterback.
Oh, let's not forget, Big Ben is still around.
Right.
So it's interesting.
It's a good chance Mason that he may not play one snap the next season, but Tomlin is
got your back. He's got your back. Well, and I think to something that you mentioned earlier off camera, because there's no way to prove one way or the other, then maybe for Mike Tomlin, whether he believes it or not, it can also be a strategical, tactical sort of thing, just so my guys know that I have their back. And so since you cannot disprove what either one of them are saying, or I guess prove, whichever way you want to present it, because there's no audio recording, there's no video that I've seen or camera angle where it's close enough, zoomed in, and you can read people's lips or anything like that. Yeah, so there's nothing that we have as evidence to say this person is being dishonest or this person is being truthful. So in that case, let me back them up, let all my guys know that I always will have their back, and then that translates to something else on the field. I'm not really sure what. I don't know if it will, but just one of those things, rally the team together. So yeah, I don't know. We still don't know whether or not it's true, but it's just interesting that the indefinite suspension basically lasted for a period of time where he wouldn't have been playing anyway. That's the thing that's strange to me, right? Because the playoffs, they wouldn't have been. I mean, it's not like this, like the Browns.
I mean, a lot of things had to fall their way for them to make it. They had to win, first of all, and
right, they could have, but after what? I mean, however many games they had, I don't remember exactly what game of the season it was and how many regular season that they had left. So let's just say, because I don't think it was that many. Let's say it was 2 games.
Like 3
then the rest of the games that the remainder of the season were playoff contenders. So they wouldn't have been playing anyway. And they weren't, because they weren't there. I mean, they didn't play any playoff games, so they weren't playing anyway. So you're suspended. But if that's the case, everybody's suspended, right? Because nobody else, if you're not in the playoffs, you're not playing. The Dolphins were suspended. I'm just saying the Raiders were suspended.
Yeah.
That's just the Panthers were suspended. Lots of suspended teams after when playoff season rolled around. So that's the only thing that's kind of like,
yeah.
If that's the case, just say don't act like you're taking
the hammer down,
and taking the act of him assaulting that man seriously, and saying, okay, we'll figure out what we're going to do here. Just say you're suspended 3 games.
Yeah, and I think they went indefinite, just I don't know, to make it seem more severe. Like, and I guess it gave them some time to actually figure out what they were going to do. So instead of like instead of putting like a longer ban on it, and then maybe something would have came to light, and then so maybe they're just trying to give themselves some wiggle room with the term indefinite. But I mean I guess he served his punishment, and
so we got to move on.
That's
to lift it in the off season, like not even when training happened again. You know what I mean? Like they're not doing workouts.
Right.
Like, it's the heart of the off season, and that's when you lift it.
It was, the timing is very,
I'm suspicious.
The timing was, I didn't understand that, but whatever.
Anyway, not our problem, but that's what's going on in the NFL. And lastly here, we have the rematch of the century. No one's called that. And in fact, it's not.
Well, it's at least the rematch of the last 2 years.
There we go. The rematch of the last 2 years. The Wilder versus Fury 2. I'm excited to watch it. I'm planning on getting together with some friends to watch and see what happens. It ended controversially in a split decision.
Mm-hmm.
So each of these boxers is still deemed to be undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see if they'll leave that way, and maybe we can actually not end something in controversy. Maybe they won't have a D Wade situation, or maybe they will. Maybe they will have a D Wade situation where, yeah, it was supposed to be, oh, we're gonna do split, okay, and then somebody
was like,
yeah, and then they announce a winner, and it's like, wait, what?
And then all the other judges be like,
That's not what we said. Exactly.
Right. You got Chadwick Boseman looking like, what?
Yeah, he's like, that's not what we talked about.
Like, he's like literally in that picture when he's like this. But yeah, so the last match, which I did not watch, but all of the reactions from it was legendary, was epic. So just how entertaining it was just from that last match. Like you had Fury coming from the dead, like you thought he was. I thought he was out for the count. He rose up like the Undertaker, like like. So hopefully it's entertaining. Yeah, like you, I'm gonna probably get together with a group of friends. We were talking about that today, and getting together and watching that. So yeah, it's not too often you get excited for like a boxing match like these days, like because boxing is like how it used to be like in the 90s when it was just
unless it's Rocky, in which case I get excited every time I watch.
What? Who?
Rocky.
And Creed.
And Creed, I love those movies. So every single time I'm excited. Well, except Rocky 5. That one wasn't so good. but other than that, Rocky 5 wasn't that great. But other than that, 1 through 4, the Creeds, Balboa, all those, and Rocky, just self-titled. I'm here for all of them.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, so it'll be, I will say, so I didn't watch the first fight either, but the other 9, I believe it was over the weekend, they re-aired the first one.
Okay.
And I watched a few rounds, but I will say I was like laughing because Fury was doing this taunting thing where he would like put both his arms down so he's not defending himself or blocking. He put both his arms out and then like would stick his face out and then like pull it back and be like, come on, and then do this. And so just trying to, incite some riot and rage from Wilder. So I appreciated that aspect of it because it made it fun. And so I was laughing while I was watching the first couple of rounds. He was consistent with it, at least through the first couple, because I turned. He every now and then would do that. And sometimes he would put his hand straight in the air, like just exposing it again, just trying to bait him, I guess, because now you're exposing your ribs and your kidneys. The entire body. And so it's like, come at me, bro. That's what I heard in my head. Come at me, bro. When he did that.
Yeah. He's
or cash me outside.
He's definitely a troll.
For real.
Yeah, and off, in and outside the ring. So
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should. Yes. So hopefully it lives up to its billing. It's getting us gals who don't normally watch the boxing to watch. So it's doing its job. So yeah. So let us guys. You guys.
Let us guys.
Let us know if you're gonna be watching the fight. If you watch and your reactions. So that'll be fun. But yeah, that's all we have, right, Kim?
Boom, we did it. I'm feeling good. And I'll just throw this little nugget in as we phase out.
Yes.
I'll be at the Duke game tomorrow night, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yes. Hopefully we can keep this win streak.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited about going, but there's always just like the slightest bit of anxiety because I don't know which team is going to show up. Yeah. And you can bet that the best version of the other team will show up. Like you can almost count on that. And sometimes they don't.
State.
It's more likely that the best version of state shows up than it is that the best version of our team shows up. But I will say too, at least they've had a little bit of rest this time. So
yeah,
I'm hopeful and I'm hoping for good things and hopefully we'll come out with a win.
Right. So maybe we need Zion to make a guest appearance again like he did against Notre Dame. And then they went off and so like they were trying to, like he gave them some Zion juice or something.
He did. It was like the MJ juice in Space Jam. Michael's special drink or whatever.
Yeah.
Juice or whatever it was. But I'll say too, the noise that I heard coming through my TV reminded me of, or when they went on that spree and like everything was falling.
Mm-hmm.
That is how loud it was when we went to the Duke UNC game our senior year, and we were just like murdering.
Yeah.
Like it was that level of insanity. I could just tell, because that's probably the loudest I've ever remember being, Cameron being, was that day.
Yeah.
So, and that I've personally experienced, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. But then I was like, we got some actual champs here, Tyus and Quinn. Can we give them
Right.
That's a chip. But anyway, I do love Zion. I do know, like, he's Zion.
Tyus and Zion are still age eligible, so
right, coach. We got some uniforms in the back.
Quinn is done, but we can still get a little play, a little run, a little burn.
You're right.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
But all right, until next time.
Until next time, folks, thanks for tuning in.
Peace.